everyone. This is Christy Austin, and I'm going to present to you on the new self-directed work teams. What is a self-directed work team? It's a group of highly trained employees, on average from 6 to 18, who are fully responsible for turning out a well-defined segment of work. Another definition says a self-directed work team is a group of people, usually employees in a company, who combine different skills and talents to work without the usual managerial supervision toward a common purpose or goal. In a self-directed work team, each person is equally responsible for the finished product. They are interdependent on each other. Self-directed work teams got their start in the 1950s in Britain and Sweden, and then in the 1960s, gradually, self-directed work teams began to evolve. In the 1960s, Procter & Gamble implemented the concept, and as time went by, especially in the 80s, GE, General Motors, Federal Express, Xerox, Ford, and Boeing, among others, began to implement these self-directed work teams. Alan Blinder, a Princeton economist, synthesized research that showed that self-directed work teams improve productivity because deep employee involvement builds intense commitment to corporate success. So the foundation for a self-directed work team came a lot from Alan Blinder's research and his statements, because deep employee involvement began to be used as improving corporate success and productivity. More and more companies began implementing the concept when they saw this need for employee involvement. So why do we need these self-directed work teams? Employees want to contribute and maximize productivity, but didn't always exhibit their best effort because of management, reward system, and structure of the workplace. So in order to give employees what they want and need so that they do maximize their best efforts, we had to look at employees becoming empowered in meeting company goals, and employees learning more than one job, maximizing their training and learning possibilities, and it decreases the bureaucracy and improves employee motivation. What do these self-directed work teams do? They plan, set priorities, organize, coordinate with others, measure progress, take corrective actions, solve problems, set schedule, assign work, and possibly handle personnel issues. Through their training, they can handle some things that normally would have gone to human resources. Instead, these self-directed work teams are often able to handle issues amongst themselves. What's different about a self-directed work team? Training is so key to this, and it was repeated in many of the resources that I looked at about this concept. Training. So employees receive an extensive and intensive amount of training. And this allows for a growth of employees, and it allows that many people contain the knowledge of how things work instead of a few. So this improves efficacy of these teams, but also the organization's goals. And decisions are made by the team. A facilitator may oversee the group, but the team is involved in decisions regarding almost all tasks. Timelines and daily decisions are made by this self-directed work team with little supervision, and this requires employee commitment to meeting goals. And it's rewarded by team performance as well as individual growth. So team members may be paid for mastering the cross-training so that goals can be met, but it also reinforces behaviors that provides for flexibility in how the team meets goals. What are the benefits? There's an increase of productivity. So many self-directed teams find shortcuts, creating better efficiency. Streamlining. Teams assumes authority over how to reach goals, so there is little redundancy. And then flexibility. Self-directed teams can respond to change quickly and adapt effectively. Quality. Employees have ownership and authority and a sense of pride in their accomplishments. They want things to go well, they want to produce a quality product. Commitment, teams are committed to their area of responsibility, thereby increasing commitment to the company itself. And customer satisfaction, they are able to respond quickly to the needs and improve quality of their product because they're experts in what their goal is. They are able to look at the needs of improving their product, and they can do so within their own group. So, self-directed work teams, is it something to fear? Absolutely not. It allows for companies to run more efficiently. And some people think initially it is about downsizing because you don't need as many managers per se, but it is actually downloading. And from our text, it says that downloading, as the first line teams assume responsibility for daily operations, support personnel and managers all the way up to the CEO are able to delegate or download some of their duties to the level below them. And this really promotes more growth of individuals within the company. And teams really promote quality and productivity, thereby improving morale and job satisfaction. How are self directed teams created? That intense training must take place first. And this intense training includes technical skills, administrative skills, and interpersonal skills. It's not just learning how to operate a machine or something of that nature. It's about how to communicate with each other, but also how to think about administrative skills, managing a budget, and a timeline. So, lots of extensive and intensive training. The self directed teams evolve from a startup phase all the way up to the self directed teams. It doesn't always go without a hitch. There's that honeymoon phase, and then that's where the intense training has taken place. A state of confusion where there's that uncertainty as people learn their new task or their new responsibilities, and also just that those interpersonal skills about reaching cooperative decisions. Then from that, the leader center team comes about, and confidence grows as trust in the self directed team grows, and a leader typically emerges naturally. Then we move to a tightly formed teams where managers must refocus on organization goals and not isolated to the team goal because the team becomes so intense and really intent on accomplishing their goals. Sometimes there has to be some redirection that they are part of a bigger organizational goal. And then from there, you have your self directed teams where there's true self direction and teams have learned to think for themselves. What elements must be in place for successful self directed teams? A top level commitment. All the way to the top, the CEO must protect and encourage the team. It can't be just another thing that is added, as something that is valued and is part of the organization's structure. And then a management employee trust. And this is manager to employee and employee to management has to have a level of trust. A willingness to take risk, and this goes back to that trust factor. When you trust each other, you're more willing to take risk. And in management and employees, trade their traditional job for innovation and possibilities. A certain amount of risk taking is essential to the productivity of these self directed teams. And a willingness to share information. The teams must have access to all information that supports their objective, and there's transparency of information. Things that might have been guarded in the past, like financial things from employees, now they have access to everything. That sense of buy-in and transparency about everything. And they must have enough time and resources. It takes time to develop these teams. It is not an overnight thing, just as we saw the evolution of a self directed team. And there's constant training and retraining, as well as access to the necessary resources. So, what elements must be in place? Um, Commitment to training in interpersonal, administrative, and technical skills. Um, Operations conducive to work teams, a range of work tasks. They need to understand all the pieces of their work responsibility. Union participation, which I find interesting because I don't work in a unionized state nor in a typical unionized area. Um, but with this, it says that management and union must reach common ground for betterment of the organization. And then access to help. As the transition is made to the self directed teams, they need somebody to guide them and be able to answer questions. So there has to be somebody there as a guide to this journey. What characteristics make up a self directed team? Joint responsibility. Successful self directed teams assign responsibility to all members of the group. So everybody is responsible and fully vested in the success. Interdependence, as I mentioned before, increases the success of the self directed team. They rely on each other and trust their colleagues to deliver. And a sense of empowerment. Self directed teams need to feel empowered to proceed with their project. A team with a successful plan for completing its project needs the ability to proceed with its plan. And then a common goal. All members of the self directed team need to work toward a common goal. When each member works towards a different goal, the project faces failure. And that's definitely not what they want because they have that commitment and pride and customer service and that quality that is part of the self-directed work team. So they definitely are all working for a common goal. So a closing thought about self-directed work teams. Anyone considering work teams is, therefore, strongly advised to see them as one among several proven ways to improve productivity, quality, and morale through structured employee involvement. So, a self directed work team is an effective model of a work team, but it does require the commitment of the company. Has to You have to make sure it's the right people to do the right job at the right time. But I don't think I can stress enough the training component that is required to make a self-directed work team successful. Thanks so much.